Now that we finally have some new PS2 games coming to PS4 and PS5, let's take a look at some of these classics that have slipped through the cracks, or just have been forgotten by the developers or publishers, and add your games that you would like to see come back in the comments. First up is one of the first games that I ever bought on PlayStation 2, and that is Drakan the Ancient's Gate. This game transports you to a fantastical world where you get to soar on a dragon's back and battle on foot. It's not easy. It has some significant challenges, especially when you're on foot. But you do have a lot of options to fight back with, including swords and magic. She is accompanied by her dragon, Iraq. You uncover secrets and confront various foes throughout the game. The dynamic between aerial and ground combat adds a unique layer of strategy to the game. And for the PlayStation 2 this early on, this was something that you just did not see. So whether you're launching fireballs from the sky, engaging in close quarters combat, Drakan the Ancient Gate is one of those games that will keep you on your toes. It has a rich story, immersive gameplay, and it is an incredibly rewarding experience that deserves more recognition and a spot on this list. I think most people by now have seen Phantom Blade Zero, and I think that it was inspired by Blood Will Tale, which is also known as Dororo in Japan. It was one of the strangest PS2 games that I ever played. You play as Hyakumaru, a samurai whose limbs and organs were stolen at birth by demons. It leaves him with prosthetic limbs, and he gets some superhuman abilities due to some alchemic modifications. You start off on your quest alongside the thief Dororo. When you start this game, you can only see in black and white because your eyes are missing. Once you kill the demon that has them, you get to see everything in color. After each demon fight, you regain your senses and you get stronger. The journey is filled with storytelling and some emotional depth, but its combat is a brutal hack and slash style that will challenge you. Each battle against the demons is difficult, and the journey to gather all your body parts that have been missing over the years is something that you will just not forget. The Bouncer. This was a beat-em-up action game with a cinematic feel that was developed by Squaresoft, which is a big distinction because their games are far better than Square Enix's. But that's a different story. Now, I remember when my cousin bought this game, and it was one of the first games that he had on PlayStation 2. When we sat down to play it, we were blown away by how good this game looked. It was by far one of the best looking games on PlayStation 2. And it tells the story of three bouncers, Scion, Volt, and Code, who work at the Fate Bar. When Scion's friend Dominique is kidnapped by a shadowy corporation, they set off on missions to rescue her and uncover the corporation's dark secrets. The gameplay does incorporate some RPG elements that allow you to upgrade your character's skills and abilities. Each character has their own unique fighting style and moves, and the story is told through some beautifully rendered cutscenes that give it a cinematic feel. It's like blending Final Fantasy with a blockbuster action movie. For the time, Bouncer stood out for its action, detailed characters, and storyline, and it didn't get that much mainstream success. But it is a testament to how developers were willing to experiment back on the PlayStation 2, something that we have completely lost now. If you thought Dark Souls was hard, you should play Chaos Legion. This is an action-packed hack-and-slash game where you play as Sieg, an elite knight tasked with hunting down his former friend Victor Delacroix. The story is a dark, gothic fantasy with some atmospheric settings and a complex narrative of betrayal and redemption. Now, the game's big standout feature was being able to summon legions to help you fight in battle. Each legion had their own unique abilities and specialties. You do get to upgrade and customize these legions that let you add some strategic element to the fast-paced action. The one thing in Chaos Legion though is that you must master the game's mechanics. The combat is relentless and difficult with hordes of enemies and bosses that require skill, timing, and a little bit of strategic thinking. The game had dark visuals and a dramatic soundtrack to complement the gameplay. It created a unique experience. Chaos Legion over the years has earned a loyal following for its unique blend of action and strategy and its overall difficulty level. And it is a game that I would absolutely love to play again. Next up is one of my favorite RPGs of all time, Xenosaga. This was one of the most ambitious sci-fi RPGs ever created. It was originally supposed to be 6 games, but we only ended up getting 3. You are thrown into a massive story, battling the mysterious Genosis and dealing with some political intrigue around the powerful Zohar artifact. It has some deep philosophical themes, turn-based combat, and some mech battles with the AGWS units. Even though Xenosaga might not be complete, it had an immersive world and some unforgettable characters that make it a must-play experience. You will never forget seeing Cosmos unleash her power in the middle of space. It's truly an epic RPG. Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny. Now, I loved the first Onimusha game, and the second one took what the first one did and improved on it in every single possible way. You play as Jubei Yagu, a master swordsman on a quest to avenge his village that was destroyed by none other than Nobunaga Oda. It still retains that survival horror feel, but like I said, everything is improved and it has new, deeper character interactions. In this game, you are not alone. You get to meet allies like Oyu of Odani and Magawichi Saiga, who assist you in battle, and they offer different branching story paths depending on your relationships with them. It added some RPG elements and strategy that make Onimusha 2 a very deep and robust experience. It had intense combat, and the static backgrounds in this game were second to none. Now the next one is of course Onimusha 3. It stars Jean Reno as a French cop who gets caught up in the demonic action. You play as both him and Samanosuke from the first game, fighting demons across feudal Japan and modern day France. The game blends that classic samurai combat with some modern firepower, and Jacques wields an energy whip which changes up the gameplay dramatically between the two. This was also the first Onimusha game to feature a fully 3D rendered world, and it was beautiful. I don't even remember how many times that I've beat this game. It was one of my favorite PS2 games, and it's disappointing that we do not have a way to play it anymore. Capcom, you need to bring this one back. Even though we're getting a new game in the series, we need the old ones brought back too. There was a period during the PS2 era where we thought games were going to be going in a very specific direction, where we started to see games use more physics in the gameplay, changing up the worlds in ways that we never thought was possible. Sadly, that is something that has completely died over the years. But this game was absolutely revolutionary. PsyOps: The Mindgate Conspiracy. You play as Nick Scryer, a Psy operative with some psychic abilities like telekinesis, pyrokinesis, mind control, and more. Combine those powers with traditional weapons and you have a dynamic combat experience. You could lift enemies, set them on fire, control them to cause chaos. The possibilities were endless. It's just sad that we don't get games like this anymore. Now they only focus on how much detail they can push in the world and the environment, instead of how much gameplay they can push. We have really lost a lot since the PS2 generation, and it's far more than just the games that are on this list. The Punisher was an action-packed, third-person shooter based on the Marvel Comics character where you play as Frank Castle on a quest for justice and vengeance. The game's storyline blended the classic vengeance tale with some truly gritty gameplay. You went through missions in New York City's underbelly, taking down crime bosses and henchmen. Now, the standout feature of this game was its interrogation system. As the Punisher, you could use the environments to extract information in the most brutal ways possible, adding a bit of strategy to the game. It even featured a wide arsenal of weapons allowing you to take out enemies any way you wanted to. The Punisher's violent, vigilante justice was captured perfectly in this game, and it made you feel like a one-man army. The game's dark tone is complemented by its comic book style, and it gave Manhunt a run for its money in terms of violence. Shinobi was a futuristic game where you play as Hatsuma, the last leader of the Oboro clan on a mission to vanquish Haruko. The game was known for its fluid combat and unique mechanics, like using the red scarf to gauge power levels and deliver some awesome looking finishing moves. The combat was fast paced and very satisfying. It's all about keeping your combo streak alive in this game. The game even had great level design. It was filled with a lot of verticality and obstacles, requiring you to have some platforming skills. You could master this game in a way that you could not most others. Honestly, in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of how Returnal is now. Shinobi wasn't the only game in this series though. We also got Nightshade around this time, which lets you play as Hibana, another skilled ninja with a similar mission. The gameplay retained the fluidity and the intense action of the first one, but this one focused more on speed, combos, and agility. Hibana's fighting style offered a different take and the game introduced new weapons and abilities. Now the levels in Nightshade are far more varied, presenting some new challenges. It had improved graphics and larger scale of enemies that made it a worthy successor to Shinobi. So I know that these are just a handful of the amazing PlayStation 2 games out there that deserve a second chance. There are so many more incredible games, especially RPGs like Radiata Stories and the Shadow Hearts series, that I would absolutely love to replay. What are some of the games on the top of your PS2 wish list? Share them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, would you kindly leave a like and subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all later.